All right, let's dive into one of the oldest, most epic stories out there, Homer's The Iliad. Now, most of us think we know the deal, right? The Trojan War, but I'm willing to bet the actual poem at the center of it all is gonna surprise you.
Yeah, everyone knows the Iliad as this massive story about war, heroes clashing on the battlefield. But what if that's not really the point? What if the real story is much smaller, much more personal? What if it's all about one single devastating emotion?
Okay, so first things first, let's just bust a huge myth right now. The Iliad, it's not the story of the entire Trojan War, not even close. It actually drops us right into the thick of it in the 10th and final year of the fighting. So, no backstory on Helen. And get this, the famous Trojan horse? It's not even in the book. The whole epic is really just zoomed in on a few super intense weeks. So, if it's not about the whole war, then what is it about? Well, believe it or not, Homer tells us everything we need to know in the very first word, menon, which means rage. And not just any rage, it's the rage of Achilles, the Greeks' #1 fighter. This one guy's fury is literally the engine for the entire story. I mean, the poet straight up tells us this rage is going to cause incalculable pain and send countless souls to their doom. Okay, so where does a rage big enough to derail a war even come from? Well, you'd think it would be something with the Trojans, right? Some epic battle? Nope. It all kicks off with a nasty, personal fight right inside the Greek camp. A feud between two of their own top guys. So, in one corner, you've got Agamemnon. He's the big boss, the commander of the whole army. And in the other corner, Achilles, their superstar warrior, the guy who can't be beaten. The problem starts when Agamemnon has to give up his war prize, a woman named Chryseis. So what does he do? He just pulls rank and takes Achilles' prize, Briseis, for himself. And for Achilles, this is way more than just losing something. It's a complete public humiliation, a total slap in the face. And Achilles, he just loses it, completely explodes. He starts tearing into his commander with these insults that honestly sound like they could have been shouted yesterday, not 3,000 years ago. This is not some polite disagreement about strategy. This is raw, unfiltered fury. Now, to really get why this is such a nuclear-level insult, you have to understand this idea they had called teme. It translates to honor, but it's not just a feeling, it's real. It's a public, physical thing. The prizes you win, the respect people show you, that's your literal net worth in this society. So when Agamemnon takes Briseis, he's basically screaming to the whole army that Achilles, their greatest hero, means nothing, that he's worthless. So what do you do when your own boss publicly trashes your reputation? If you're the greatest warrior alive, you make a decision so shocking it brings the whole war effort to a screeching halt. He quits. And yeah, without Achilles, it's a total disaster. The Greeks are getting absolutely hammered. The Trojans are pushing them right back to the sea, about to burn their ships. So, in total desperation, Agamemnon finally admits he messed up. He sends a delegation to Achilles, basically offering him a mountain of treasure, Briseis back, and a huge public apology. All he has to do is come back and fight. And what Achilles says next, it's honestly one of the most incredible moments in all of literature. He says no. He just flat out rejects everything. He says, you know what? Nothing you can offer me is worth my life. And right there, he starts to question the whole system. Like, why should I risk dying for you people, for this glory, if this is how you treat me? What good is being a hero if you're dead? And this right here, this is the real heart of the poem. It's not just about Achilles being mad at Agamemnon anymore. He's asking these massive universal questions. What's the point of it all? What is a life actually worth? Suddenly the entire value system of his world is on trial. So Achilles just sits it out. He stays in his tent, stewing in his rage while his friends are out there dying. But his choice, his inaction, it's about to have a terrible, terrible cost. A tragedy is coming that's going to twist his rage into something else entirely. And the person at the center of it all is Patroclus, Achilles' best friend, the person he loves most in the world. And Patroclus just can't take it anymore. He can't stand by and watch their friends get slaughtered. He goes to Achilles and begs him, "Let me wear your armor, let me lead our men, we have to save them." Achilles, against his better judgment, agrees. And at first, it works. Patroclus, wearing the famous armor, drives the Trojans back. It's a huge success, until it isn't. In the chaos of the fight, Patroclus is killed. And the man who kills him is Hector, the Trojans' greatest hero. And just like that, everything changes. The rage that started as wounded pride, it gets completely swallowed by this massive, overwhelming grief. And then that grief, it curdles. It twists into something new, something monstrous. Pure, absolute revenge. The Achilles who comes back to the fight is not the same person who left it. He couldn't care less about honor or treasure anymore. All that's gone. Now there's only one thing on his mind: kill Hector. His rage stops being human. It becomes this unstoppable force of nature, a hurricane aimed at just one person. And of course, Achilles gets his revenge. But the story doesn't stop there. And this is what makes it so amazing. In its final act, the poem shifts away from all the rage and fighting and finds something totally unexpected. It finds empathy. So at the height of this storm of fury, Achilles hunts down and kills Hector. But even that isn't enough to satisfy his rage. He ties Hector's body to the back of his chariot and just drags it through the dirt, day after day. He refuses to give the body back for a proper burial. I mean, it is just an act of pure, shocking cruelty. This is Achilles at his absolute lowest point. And then something incredible happens. That night, Hector's father, the old King Priam, does the unthinkable. He sneaks out of Troy all alone and walks right into the Greek camp, right into enemy territory. He finds Achilles' tent, walks in, kneels before the man who slaughtered his son, and begs him for the body. And this act of impossible bravery, it just shatters Achilles' rage. It forces his final, most important transformation. Because when Priam starts talking about what it's like to be a grieving father, Achilles doesn't see an enemy king anymore. He sees his own dad, waiting at home, who he knows will soon be grieving for him. He finally sees another person who is just as broken by loss as he is. And in this incredible, quiet moment, these two enemies just weep together. Priam cries for his son Hector, and Achilles cries for his best friend Patroclus, and for the father he'll never see again. All that rage is just washed away by their shared grief. Right there, in the middle of a war, they find what makes them both human. And that's how the Iliad ends. This gigantic epic of war doesn't end with a city burning or a final victory. It ends with an act of peace. Achilles agrees to a ceasefire, a truce, so the Trojans can have a proper funeral for their hero, Hector. The last image we get isn't a battlefield. It's a funeral. So, what are we supposed to take away from all this? I think it's this. The Iliad looks horror and war right in the eye. It doesn't flinch. But it also says that even in the middle of all that brutality, the things we all share, love, and especially grief, can bring us together. It starts as a story about rage, for sure. But in the end, it's really a story about what it means to be human.